Hi and welcome to my home. This is Cheffing by Chardonnay. My name is Brad Loekle, aka Chef Chardonnay, and today we're going to be making croque madames for two of my favorite ladies. So tonight we're going to be making croque madames. Now, you might have heard of a croque monsieur, which is the binary masculine version of a croque madame. The big difference is a croque madame is a croque monsieur with an egg on top, because, you know, if you like it, then you should put an egg on it. It's very, very simple to make for one person or 12 people. To make it for a lot of people is something people get scared of because it's normally just done in a frying pan and they think they have to do it one at a time. Nope, you can make it in casserole dishes and do it in the oven, and it's fabulous. First, you're going to need a good quality white bread. The traditional French version would call for a Pullman's loaf. Not so easy to find in most of America, but if you buy like not Wonder Bread, but one of those high quality, kind of more artisanal white breads, you need 2 slices because it's basically a sandwich. And for the madame, you have to cut out a little hole in the center. That's where the egg is gonna sit. The easiest way to do that is with a champagne glass. Now, if you don't have a champagne glass in your house, kill yourself. So basically the sauce that's a key ingredient to this is a Mornay sauce. A Mornay sauce is just a bechamel that you put some kind of cheese in. And bechamel is just flour, milk, and butter. Turn my oven onto about, my burner onto about medium, and then I'm just going to melt, I'm going to melt about 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter. While that's melting, fun story about salted and unsalted butter. I used to date a pastry chef many years ago. Terrible person, but amazing in bed. And he used to like to have sex in the kitchen. So one night we were getting ready for this dinner party, and he decided to get randy with me. And usually, since I wouldn't let him keep lube in the kitchen because I'm a lady, he would use extra virgin olive oil as lubricant. And we were getting ready for the dinner party, but we were running very low on the good olive oil that we needed for the dressing. So we went to grab it, and I said, absolutely not. You have to wait to fuck me till after. He decided to take some of the softened butter that he was going to use in the dessert and use that as lubricant. Now, here's the important part. If you ever try this at home, it really needs to be unsalted butter. That is a mistake you only want to make once. Now, as that melts, it takes a little while to melt down. What we're then going to mix into that is either flour, which is the traditional thing you would use in a bechamel, or cornstarch, or if you're European, you would call it corn flour. I'm using cornstarch because I'm out of flour and just realized it an hour ago. So the butter's pretty much melted, and you'll notice anytime butter melts, it froths up a little bit at first. That's some of the milk solids coming. You see there's kind of a white frothy. You want that to happen. What you don't want is the butter to brown. Brown butter is delicious, but it's not right for this recipe because we're making a white sauce. So we want to keep those colors all clear. So now that that's done, I'm just going to whisk in the cornstarch. And you just make sure there's no lumps. And as the heat continues, you'll see it's gonna thicken a little bit, probably for about a minute or 2. It's got a lovely gold color right now. It's gonna start to bubble just the slightest bit. Again, if it starts bubbling too much, you turn the heat down a little bit. Lower temperature is always better than higher temperature as a general rule. You'll make less mistakes. So now that that's starting to bubble and thicken just the slightest bit, I'm going to start gradually adding 3 cups of whole milk, whisking the whole time. Okay, so 5 to 10 minutes have passed, and the sauce has started to thicken. The way you know it's pretty much thick is you would stick a clean metal spoon in, and when it coats the back, when it sticks like that. So now what we're going to do, we're going to turn the flame down to the lowest it can possibly go, and little by little we are going to add in Gruyere, 1 cup of Gruyere cheese. That is the traditional cheese used in this sauce. It's a wonderful kind of medium hard cheese. It's got a little bit of tartness to it, but it's very creamy. You want to whisk it and stir it and make sure it's all melted in before you add more, because you don't want any clumps. Now because I'm a grotesque American, Also add in a little bit of white cheddar, just because I like the bite of a sharp white cheddar to add in. Also, frankly, if you're on a budget, Gruyere cheese is expensive. Like 6 ounces of Gruyere cheese can be $9 or $10. So it's, in my opinion, as far as I'm concerned, it is totally fine to get some Gruyere, and then mix in some white cheddar as well to be more cost effective. Once that's all blended together, you're then gonna turn the heat off and you're going to add, traditionally you would add a 1/4 cup of black pepper. I like to use white pepper. It's a milder, earthier pepper, and I feel like it blends into the sauce better. But obviously if you have black pepper, just use that. And you want 3/4 of a teaspoon of nutmeg, which is traditionally a baking spice. And some people are like, oh my God, what? But you don't end up really tasting the nutmeg strongly. It just has this wonderful kind of earthy umami bite to it that people don't kind of know what it is. They think it's the Gruyere they're tasting, but it's not. It's the nutmeg. You whisk that all together. Make sure it's nice and smooth. You can see even with the heat off, there's still a lot of steam coming off, which means the sauce is continuing to thicken. So I'm gonna move that totally off the heat. Let that sit for a hot second. Now, the bread. The bread needs to be stale, but what do you do if you just brought fresh bread? Zut alors, as the French would say. What you want to do, another important point of cooking, is to always make yourself your favorite cocktail in a coffee mug before you start cooking so that your family and guests think you're being responsible, but you're actually enjoying yourself. Now, if you buy fresh white bread for this recipe, it needs to be stale for this reason. You're about to layer it with cheeses and creams and sauces and all these things, which is just gonna turn into mush if it was fresh. But if you don't have stale bread, what you do is you take the bread, you set your oven to 375, lay all the slices out on a sheet pan, put it in there for 5 to 10 minutes, flipping once halfway through, and boom, you got stale bread. Now comes the easy part. The sauce was the hardest thing we're gonna do. We're gonna leave that oven set to 375. Right, you're gonna put this in the middle rack. The oven's at 375. Pop that in there. I'm gonna set a timer for 30 minutes. And I'm going to continue to finish my cocktail and finish the salads for the little evening dinner with me and my ladies. See you in a second. All right, it's been 30 minutes at 375, so I'm going to take the dish out of the oven, see how she's doing. Now, see how pretty that is, and see how it didn't stick because of the olive oil. Now this one slid a little, because it's TV, and you just can't have anything nice in this world. So now we're gonna leave that like that, but see how it's still all white on top? That's lovely, but it's not really a classic croque madame. So I've kicked the oven up to 400, and now with this just like this, I'm going to put it back in the oven on the top rack, closest to the broiler point, but on bake, not broil, for just about 5 minutes more. And we'll get a lovely little brown bubbly crispiness, and then we'll be ready to eat. And there we go. We get a little brown, crispy, crunchy, caramelized, the Gruyere and cheddar, the bechamel, the ham sizzling. Now again, I did this for 3. You could do this recipe for literally as many sandwiches as you can fit in the casserole dishes in your oven. I've done this for 12 people at a time. So simple to do. You can do all the prep work the day ahead, have a sensible cocktail in a coffee mug while your guests arrive for a brunch or a light Tuesday lunch while your husbands are having affairs. It's the perfect meal to just soak up all the booze and sadness of the new year. Thanks for coming over to my house. I'm gonna sit down with my two favorite ladies, have these little croque madames, and then we're gonna not tell you what happens after. Because what happens at Chez Chardonnay stays at Chez Chardonnay.